Roll call, Irvin, here. Behringer, here. Laraway,
Here.
Wicker,
Here.
Gray,
Present.
Tefreshi,
Here.
Simon.
Yep, bring it up the back.
All right.
Bring it up the back end. Don't make it loose.
Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? Any additions? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
They can make a motion that we accept it. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes?
I read them earlier.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns there? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes for the previous meeting. I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Oh, moving on. Mr. Chairman, or I always say that, I'm the chairman. Tim is the chairman. I'll just take a quick moment and say, I really appreciate that we do the Pledge of Allegiance still, and yesterday being 9/11, I think that that's very important, and you don't see it at very many meetings anymore. So that means a lot to me. I'm proud of our country, and I'd like to welcome Carrie to the group. So thank you. Thank you. I hear you raced here from soccer, so we appreciate your volunteer effort.
For the picture?
They were pretty good.
Yeah.
They're three, so they're adorable no matter what.
They're little.
Well, welcome to the group. Thank you. I'm happy to have you. Now on to Mr. Village Counselor. Manager.
You have a report in writing in your packet. Just gonna highlight a few of the items. The chip and fog project that we had done on Queensway, portion of Bundy, and the Major Street portion of DeQuessa was completed in the end of August. That was a project that we did in collaboration with the Road Commission. So we were able to basically piggyback up the project that they were doing so we could get the quantity of scale cost reduction that we would have being 3 additional miles on a 30-mile project as opposed to going out by ourselves on the deal. The next projects that we have hopefully lined up, we've applied for a grant from MDOT to do a mill and fill project on Clubhouse Drive from Coldwater to Fairway. And then I think another one from Backswing down to Birdie Drive, that area. We're also looking at the same chip and fog type project coming up on Clubhouse from River Road, probably towards the South Park-ish area. You know, those are the next projects that we would see in the horizon, hopefully next year, that kind of stuff. The LIPOA has applied for and received a new permit for a 6-foot drawdown. Their current permit expires the end of this month. So they were able to renew that, which is crucial for dredging efforts because the whole project is contingent upon doing it when the water's not there.
Yeah.
Changes the cost considerably if you're doing it from a barge as opposed from a backhoe or, you know. For those of you who don't follow the county closely, the county is in planning stages in discussion about a new MRF, material recovery facility. And the impetus behind this is the state is pushing a new solid waste management plan in legislation across state that communities are going to have to capture, I think, at least 15% of their stream as recyclables by 2032 or something like that. So our MRF here in Mount Pleasant is a collaborative effort between the city and the county. And it is what is known as a dual stream facility. So you pre-sort everything before you take it there is how it's structured. Well, that was the industry standard in the 90s. The industry standard today is a single stream. So you don't sort it, you just put it all in one thing and it goes to a facility where it is sorted and then processed and packaged and so on and so forth. They're looking at building a facility that would accommodate multiple counties around the region. The initial price tag on that facility is $15.3 million. But we were just in a meeting last Friday with Midland, Mecosta, all the surrounding counties, looking at how this project could work, looking at, what's gonna take to get their haulers to bring it here. That's one of the tougher things about this industry is that, Isabella County is unique in that its recyclables are handled by the county. So the county picks it up, the curbside. Most other places, that's part of your trash contract that you have with the hauler. So like when I was in Breckenridge, Waste Management did it both, and Waste Management would then take it to their facility for processing, and sorting, because recyclables are a commodity. So getting that situated is gonna be actually, I think, pretty complicated because, just look at us in Isabella County, right now, the county collects recycling. We use Kings for trash collection. The city uses Republic. Shepherd just switched from Granger to Republic, I think. I don't think Rosebush has anybody, they might, I don't know, but, Union Township doesn't have a single hauler. So you've got a lot of different players in this field in, a lot of places where they do have, like Waste Management doing recycling or Republic or GFL, those are the three big players, they're taking it to their own facility to basically process and sell at that point in time. So how all of those get untangled from, not everyone's gonna be on the same cycle of trash contracts, like ours is, I think in year 4 of 5, or Midland might be in year 1 of 6, so there's a lot of moving parts to make this work. But it's something that's being discussed, it's something that hopefully will resolve in a way that there's no interruption to recycling services, something that, we certainly as a community like and enjoy. The bins over there are quite popular. Get angry calls, the bin's full, when's it getting done? Like, Mondays and Wednesdays, call the recycling center, not me. Moving on, we have not set a date yet for our fireworks next year. As you might know, we tried to do it on the Saturday nearest the 4th. That is the Saturday after the 4th next year, which is the day of Wademan Days, which also has fireworks with the same company that does ours and the same fire department that watches. So we're trying to figure out either moving it to the Saturday before, which would be in June, which is not, I think, ideal in my life, or going on Friday. Because the 4th is on a Thursday. Now, the issue is gonna be, is that gonna be too much to ask of the fire department and Freedom Fireworks to go back to back like that? Because we are their biggest show by far that they do. So our show does require quite a bit on their part.
Do we have a location?
What's that?
Do we have a new location?
Nope, we're still, I think, gonna be able to make it work there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Where
great.
do they have their?
I don't know exactly now, but it used to be on the asphalt pad behind Hooker's place. I don't know if they, Wademan Days, are they doing fireworks now by the ball fields or
In the park.
they doing park now? Yeah, so.
It is a clear area that they make sure they clear everybody away. I just happened to run in, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there any advantage to combining with them?
I was wondering the same thing.
I think logistically that poses problems because ours is not set up to accommodate a large public viewing. It's set up to accommodate boat traffic.
Is there a reason it has to be on Friday and couldn't just be on the holiday itself?
That's not been consistent with us trying to make it around the weekend itself as opposed to the holiday. So we've always tried to go on Saturday, so it is a weekend, everyone's up for the weekend type deal, you take the weekend off. We've historically avoided midweek.
The reason I wondered about combining, are we gonna be able to continue to do both?
Yeah, I think, the fire department was fine and the fireworks company was fine. So if we just need, we're moving down further, so.
I happened to meet and talk to a couple at that new house. And they were fine with it, absolutely no problem. I don't foresee it being an issue
Yeah.
unless something happens.
Yeah.
They're a young couple, and when I told them about where the fireworks go off at, that close? Like, yeah. So that's why we're a little bit worried if maybe a little bit too close for your comfort. He said, nah, go ahead and do it, so. We'll see how it goes, so.
No.
I haven't moved in. We met him actually before the house was built. They were there, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, with being-
See that in writing, though.
Now, you know,
Yeah, I know.
No, I
There
agree.
you go.
I just, like I said, I happened to
I
read it and
changed my
talk about
mind.
it.
with being on the weekend too, you know, one of the things for our community too is, you know, we do have, 15% that are not permanent residents. But most of us who are, you know, we do a lot have company that comes up for that weekend, you know,
Yeah.
because it is,
Usually.
I see lots of big parties around.
We
It's
can
all-
still,
you know,
we can still do it over the lake, I'm all
Yeah.
for it, but I'm thinking if we can't, I would look at mine.
I worry if it was Friday night, we might have a lower attendance at the race. That would be the only downfall to me,
What race?
the 5K race in the morning.
Oh, I mean, they can still do the race on Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but I
Yeah.
just think the attendance would be down if you're up till 11:30 and then
Yeah. 'cause
that's
if
the
you
only
run-
downside I see
No,
to
you're
the
right, the
Friday.
race-
They probably can.
And last but not least, at the end of June, we submitted a formal challenge to the Census Bureau contesting our results from 2020. We believe that we were undercounted, primarily in housing units, so that hopefully will relate to a higher population. This is the first step. If you're gonna go forward and do a full-fledged recount of your census, you have to try to challenge it and be unsuccessful or not be satisfied with the results that you received. For us, the big number is 2,000. So our official population was 1,829, I think, or my head, 21, 29, something like that. 2,000 is the first multiplier in terms of your Act 51 money for your street. So it's a 10% bump. You're talking a $400,000 difference over a decade in terms of actual dollars that we would have towards our streets. So something that we are definitely working on. And, they undercounted us significantly in the housing count. So they gave us like 954 housing units with like an 80% occupancy. And our, with GIS, it's pretty easy to do this at this point in time. We had 974 because there's a cutoff date. It was like April 30th of 2020. In good faith, we're like, we had, these were the ones that were occupied on that date, which was about 85% of those. But as of the house I approved yesterday, I think we're standing at 1,011 housing units, either existing or approved right now in the community. So, if we do have to go for a recount, the nice thing is you recount at the time you do the recount, not try and figure out what it was in 2020. So you'd be able to bring in those 50+ houses that would hopefully then definitely push us over 2,000. They're supposed to let us know by the end of the month. It's federal government, so I'm sure the federal government's gonna get shut down, and so we're not gonna hear anything probably until like Thanksgiving. No, the federal government. The cynic in me wouldn't surprise me. That is all I have for you, fine ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, Mr. Laraway, anything from village council?
Well, yeah, they met 4 times. One of those was a special meeting. The resolutions they passed, quite a few of them really. 2023-09 was, I believe Tim mentioned that MDOT category B grant we went for. 2310 general appropriation capital improvement planning. 2311 finance committees, we accepted their end of year amendment. 2023-12 healthcare contributions for the municipal employees.
Yep.
2023-13 CRF policy. And I drew a blank on that CRF.
There, various compliance policies you have to adopt if you're accepting federal funds, which.
Yeah, but I couldn't remember what CRF stood
Oh,
for.
gosh, I don't know what time I had either.
Well, then I don't feel bad.
No.
2023-14 cost of living, we did that for the wages. The council continues to work on updates to Article 4, which is the ordinance, zoning ordinances, and we got Jim's put in a lot of work on that. The council's pretty set to go. They set a public hearing for our next meeting next week, yeah, on changes to it. And then when that goes through, we get to start working on a couple other updates.
8 or 10, only 2 left. And 10's franchise agreements, those ones are gonna be simple, because you can't change anything, you just gotta reformat.
Yeah, we can look forward to
Just
that.
gotta reformat it.
2023-16, 2023-2024 budget amendments. That was all approved. That's kept them pretty busy for the last 4 meetings and brings us up to date.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Any questions?
Minutes of all those meetings are on the website. You can do it anymore.
And recordings of them.
Great.
Yeah, and recordings, right?
Sure. You really need to find something to fall asleep to.
Mr. Gray, representing zoning board of appeals.
We did have one, CBA meeting last month, to which we did go ahead and unanimously approve the change. It was basically a side yard, setback that he wanted to, instead of having the 8 foot, we allowed him to go into it, 2 feet into it. So it'll be a 6 foot setback on that particular area. The lot next to him, I believe, I don't remember, is empty next to him.
The house next to him is on 1.5 lots, and so there's the big side yard is that side. so.
Yeah, so it wasn't even gonna, him moving over 2 feet wasn't gonna look and do any major changes to the house that's already there on that side, so, so it was a pretty easy approval, there were no, objections to it. The lot that he has is not your typical rectangle lot, it had lots of angles and all that stuff to it, so really that's why he was having an issue being able to, do anything with that, so. But there are a new couple from, I figure he said the Detroit area, something like that, moving up.
Yeah,
And
he works
expanding on this house, so.
in the automotive industry.
Yep.
But,
So the changes we made to the zoning, helped put it through.
Yeah, that was the other thing too, is that ZBA is very appreciative as well too, that we're not locked into the 10 different items that you have to meet anymore. As long as we meet 7 of them, that, it gives us a little bit more leeway to where we have, normally you would say no. But in this case here, we don't have to abide by all 10 items on there. We can at least meet 7 of them. If we can meet those 7, then.
We're creating a hardship.
Yeah, exactly.
Locking you guys down, we couldn't do anything.
Exactly, right, so,
Good.
so it worked out really well, so that's,
Glad to hear it.
it was actually a fun meeting, there was no animosity, no problems, no issues, and pretty straightforward, which is good when it comes to ZBA, so.
Yeah, especially in flexibility when the lots are not
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
square.
Yeah.
You've got to have some flexibility there. I think it means a lot to people.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
Nope, that was basic it for ZBA.
All right.
So we did, we did rearrange our, chairperson and vice chair is also now in there too, to where Mr. Irving is continuing on as our chairperson, and then our second person, who do we nominate for vice chair? I forget now.
Angela,
Angela, that's right,
Yeah.
Sophia, she wasn't even there, so.
that's why.
Oh, was she
You
that
got
one?
volunteers.
Pays to be on time.
Right.
Gonna be running meetings if you don't.
That's all I have, but the ZBA, so.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, I don't see anyone from the public here, so I think it's safe to say we're good with public comment. No hearings. Existing business none. We're moving right along to new business.
So, the first item of new business is wanted to run by a couple of things for the planning commission. You may or may not know, several years ago, the village, adopted a resolution at the council level indicating our involvement and desire to become a redevelopment ready certified community. This is a program through MEDC. It was started back in the Snyder administration. And the impetus behind it was the business community as a whole does not like uncertainty in the approval process, is the politest way I can say it. Go figure. And you know, so MEDC worked with the MML, worked with the townships, worked with other stakeholders, and we came up with this program. I was part of creating the program at the MML level. And what it does is it puts together a series of best practices across development and planning, so that to become certified, you have to adopt these best practices. And there's two levels now. There's essential and then there's certified. A lot of it was originally focused on downtowns. So like having a walkable downtown, those type of things. You know, the program's morphed over the years a little bit to not be so downtown centric. But we are down to the final 4 items or so that we have to get done, and none of them are, you know, major hurdles by any stretch of the imagination, stuff that we definitely be done with by the end of the year. On the dais for you tonight is a copy of our public participation plan. By the end of the year, we need to review that and probably do some minor updates, tweaks, that kind of stuff. That plan was adopted, I think, in 2019. So it's due for a little bit of a facelift, but that's it right there. We need to create a document that details our internal review process. Find that one a little bit nuanced because, well, it's, you know, give it to Tim and reviews it, give it back. You know, but looking at examples from other communities, they also put in there how you're putting it into your file tree, you know, how you're saving file names, those type of things. You know, who gets what handoff, who are you calling at the county, that type of stuff. New member orientation packets, created one once we knew we were gonna have turnover with Tom to carry. Well, I got that up to her, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It just kind of gives a higher view of, like, you know, here are the different big items that you're gonna deal with as a planning commission member. We need to do one for ZBA. Not sure if we need to do one for council or not. We might be a little bit more condensed since they don't deal with the actual approval on like site plans and special land uses. You know, they're the end authority to approve the master plan. They have to do the final adoption on ordinances, and that's really about it for them. You know, when we amended the zoning ordinance last year, you know, the buck stops with you fine folks for pretty much all development projects now. You know, there were some that we had an extra layer that the council had to be a part of. We got rid of all that. We actually got rid of a lot of the approval for you guys and made that staff level on a lot of stuff too. Trying to make it a more streamlined process across the board. And then, you know, kind of a formal training plan for members of planning commission and ZBA. So nothing that is major. If you look at the list that's in the packet of all the stuff that we have done, you know, from the master plan to the zoning ordinance to, you know, all the stuff that's on our website, all the forms that we do, you know, we're definitely in the homeward stretch here. So what I was hoping from you guys was, you know, look at the new member materials, look at the public participation plan, just give me some feedback, you know, stuff that we might have missed, you know, stuff that you would like to see added, that kind of stuff. You know, and as we get done with these last 3 or 4 items, you know, we'll be done just in time to start with the master plan again. Funny how that works.
Okay. Does the MML still do the classes? I don't even know if they do them online now, or I'm sorry, Matt, yeah, right now,
Yep.
MML. I know you and I have attended quite a few different ones like that, and it's always educational to not only learn from the person doing the presentation, but talk to other people from other places.
Correct.
To get an idea from them, you know, like we say, we do it this way, and they're like, oh, we do it this way, and
Yep.
it's a great way to compare or get, you know, hey, they do something really, really cool here, why don't we adopt it and do it ourselves too? So, I don't remember if there's any online stuff for that, but they usually have put some.
It's usually in the spring,
Throughout the year.
it's usually in March.
Okay,
You know, and they do like a March, you know, around the state, several different ones. There's also a spring institute that's in April. There's a fall conference from MAP. It's usually in October.
believe we require anybody to do that, but I
No.
would highly encourage.
There's also MSU Citizen Planner,
Okay.
you
yeah,
know, so. The thing that, when we get into the training plan part of it, you know, we are a member for our property and liability insurance with the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority. Not MML, MMRMA.
MMA or whatever.
And we can get reimbursed up to 75% on certain training, so, like, if you remember, gosh, was it last year? The March meeting coincided with one of those MAP webinars, and that's what we just did. We did it, you know,
Yep.
so we got 75% of that cost reimbursed from our insurance company.
Mhm.
You know, because you people being trained correctly to make decisions correctly under the law and the ordinance
Mhm.
means we're less likely to get sued. You know, so it's an incentive on their part to make sure
Yeah.
that you guys are qualified and, you know, well versed in the law. You know, and it doesn't even have to be, you know, going outside, like we did that site plan training we did internally in April, you know, something like that. You know, that counts towards that training, you know, that's part of, you know, having a refresher, you know, from me on the Open Meetings Act, you know, and those type of things, those count as training in there, you know, so.
Even coming from somebody who's done this for 18 years, I still learn something every time I go to one of those. So, you know, I would, like I said, I would highly encourage you guys to work with Tim to get it
Yeah.
signed up for some of those.
So when it comes out in the spring, we always send it to everybody, you know,
Yep.
because we pay for it and we'll pay for your mileage, that kind of stuff, so I mean, yeah. All I got on that, so look it over, let me know what your thoughts are.
Your home phone number. You gotta notify the chairman if we're not gonna make the meeting, so we need your home phone and our cell phone.
Emails.
You can have my phone number. I'm the same a lot of years. I'll visit it back.
614-8654. 773-1000. Number two, you know, you guys put in a ton of work last year, so you had to meet a lot this year. Overwhelmingly, the changes that were done to the zoning ordinance from last year have been very popular. They've been very well received. They've made everybody, you know, more comfortable and happy with the process. Two thoughts have come up, two scenarios have come up that I did want to put on your radar if we're gonna look at an amendment anytime in the near future. The first is about group daycare. So you have family daycare home, which is 1 to 7. Group is 8 to 14. In the old zoning ordinance, we allowed group daycare in LR1, LR2 as a special land use. When we started to draft the new ordinance, we took that out because the law had changed. So originally it was 1 to 6 and 7 to 12. When we said, you know, gosh, going 14 kids on a lot that's, you know, 75 by 150, you know, that's a little bit of a stretch, you know, if it's on a single lot. So like, you know, maybe the LR4 district would be good because those are big lots. And so, you know, we're looking at that with bed and breakfast. You know, I don't know how that went. So that got yanked out of there. So the only district right now where we would allow a group daycare is the LR5, which are the big unplatted parcels. There's only like 13 or 14 of them. But on the flip side, we have the fastest approval of a daycare you will find in Isabella County if you're doing a family daycare.
Because there are no daycares.
But yeah, like
Well,
the guy walked into my office and 20 minutes later, he had his daycare permit from me. It was like, you know, the city of Mount Pleasant is ridiculous to get a daycare operation out there. It's a lot of work, a lot of cost. You know, he had to put in a fence, you know, so he got his fence permit and we tacked that on because the fence permit's 10, the daycare permit's 50. It's like, we're just gonna charge you the daycare permit, the fence is part of it, you know, get it in, get it out. You know, so we did do the give and take there. We made it a lot easier, a lot simpler, and a lot quicker to get that family daycare permit. But we don't give anybody the option except an LR5 to do a group daycare. And, you know, the thought that we were having going into that was, you know, we didn't want to do them on, you know, our typical smaller residential lots. That's just too many kids. You know, especially because you're opening up to potentially longer hours of the day where you're gonna have traffic. You know, and then the feedback we got from the large lot owners were like, absolutely not, we don't want anything like this in, near, or around us. How dare you? And we took it out.
It's still more of a retirement kind of thing, you know, so I can totally understand.
Yeah.
that. Do you still consider daycare of kids and adults when we get cold water the same when it comes to that kind of stuff? Or do we still look at them separately?
So that's separate.
Right.
So the McBride home falls under a provision of the law that allows for state licensed residential facilities for people who are not assigned to or released from a correctional facility to be treated as a single family dwelling in the zoning code.
And
That's
they're
state
all-
law. So they're there legally and
Yep.
they don't have anything to do with us.
Right, but they are all adults, correct?
They are all adults.
Versus there, to me, there is a difference between the adult care, I guess, you know, I wouldn't call it daycare, because those
Yeah.
adults are there 24/7. Versus a daycare with a bunch of those kids running around,
Yeah.
K-12, whatever you wanna call it. So to me, that's why I'm wondering, do we have different standards for both of them?
No, so like in the ordinance itself now that we, you know, that's a different type of facility over there that we're
Right.
talking about. Our daycare wording allows for either child or adult daycare.
Oh,
So
okay,
we allow that. So if you want to do an adult daycare home, you know, we'll allow that. Like that's something that we looked at and said, you know, this is part of an aging population.
Mhm.
You know, if you're gonna be homebound because you've got a loved one who needs in-person care, you know, and you can provide that during the day to other people, why shouldn't you be able to do that?
right,
You know?
okay.
And the
Well,
other,
there was a second thing in there too, there was.
yep, any other daycare feedback? The other one, you know, we spent a lot of time over 2 years, because this was something that came up in the first update that we did before we did the big one. Because we were initially pre-COVID, we were planning to do the zoning ordinance update in 3 chunks. We're gonna do commercial, then we're gonna do residential, then we're gonna do everything else. Well, we cleaned up the commercial, and then COVID hit. And then we had the summer of garage love. Yep.
Both planning commission and ZBA.
Yep. A lot of fun meetings over in the DPW building back
But we
then.
learned a lot from it though.
Yeah, we did. And so we said, you know, we're just gonna do one big update and be done with this. You know, when we did the commercial update first, and then we carried it forward into the 2022, you know, we adopted stormwater management principles that have to be implemented if your development passes a certain threshold. And we also put in an impermeable surface cap on Coldwater Road in terms of the lots there because of the drainage problems, because of the high water table, the flooding, you know. The more you make it so water can't drain, the worse that problem gets. It's not our road, it's the road commission's road, so we can't do anything there. You know, so, wow. John and Sharon Bishop own 2 lots north of the bank. Bank sits on 4 lots.
Right.
Was originally on 3.
Oh,
They bought a 4th so they could do the drive-through.
that's right, okay.
Yep. Bishops own the 2 lots north of there. They're 155 by 160 is the dimensions roughly. We've got a couple of different people who are interested in doing a project there. And based on that size, the impermeable surface cap is around like, I don't know. I think it's over like 8,000 feet. Yeah, it's like 8,600 feet, 8,700 feet.
Is that where Proton?
That's one of the 2, yep. Yep. Proton's looking at doing an office over there. You know, but we put in a cap that 35% of that can be impermeable surface, so that's roofs, sidewalks, you know, anything like that. So, you know, we also took out that you don't have to have hard surface parking. Like you can do semi-permeable parking spaces that aren't gonna count against that, so. You know, there are great examples out there of materials that drain water, whether it's asphalt, whether it's landscaping pavers, whether it's concrete. There are newer technologies out there that you can employ to do this. You know, is that cap reasonable? Is it correct? You know, or is there a way to say this is your cap unless you have to do stormwater management? Then you can go to 50 or 60, you know, incentivize it that way. Because right now we put the hammer on, I think like 10,000 square feet. You know, so that's a good size development, you know. Dollar General footprint for the store itself is 9,100 square feet. That gives you an example of what 10,000 square feet is. So, you know, I don't know. There's pros and cons, and it's really only an issue on the west side of Coldwater Road, because those are platted lots. Or the other side, you know, are bigger parcels. I'm gonna bring it up here on the board so everybody can see what I'm talking about. That is the wrong mouse. I have two mouses here. Nieces and mices.
But Tim, are you thinking the water management stuff would also take up some space and that would be included in the square footage therefore?
Well, it wouldn't be impermeable. So
Okay.
you can do it like a detention basin on your site right there.
And it wouldn't be counted?
It doesn't count as impermeable surface,
Gotcha.
you know, so. And here's the bank.
Oh.
I mean, see, these are platted lots. So one of the changes that we did here, if you remember, is this is one of those areas where we allow carriage houses down. So that's the ground floor garage, second floor living. And we did that because we really wanted to try and get as minimal of a footprint on the ground here as possible, going back to those drainage problems that we have through here, particularly as we get further south too. These are awful through here,
Yep.
you know.
So how about pond being there?
No, that certainly doesn't help. You know, this lot here floods bad, you know. The village owns this and this. So, you know, we've held those, we're not gonna sell those, you know, so we're gonna do our part to hopefully, you know, incorporate something there if we need to in terms of a detention pond or something like that. Because the fun part about this area of the village is that water flows this way. Water flows this way.
Oh.
And then it's supposed to flow this way. Water flows this way to here, but there's no culvert here. The culverts go under Coldwater Road, not under baseline. You know, and then water kind of flows this way. It's not.
That corner there gets flooded every time we ever rain. You know, the exit out on the baseline from out of bounds. I mean, that gets a substantial amount of water sitting there in his driveway.
Well, does that make those lots virtually unbuildable as you go south?
You know, buildability is determined by whether or not you get a permit from the health department. You know, I can tell you that prior to the changes that we made last year, it would have been impossible to develop on those lots, in my opinion, based on what the ordinance allowed, what the ground there is like. You know, giving that the option to do the carriage house, the ground floor garage, you know, second floor living. That is a totally doable development. We sketched it out on trying to make it work on those lots, and you know, you can do it with enough space to get the reserve field in pretty comfortably, or do an alternative system if you have to, because you know, without having water and sewer, you gotta accommodate for all that on site. So, and you know, those smaller projects don't trigger stormwater management. It's only the bigger ones, you know, you're gonna, and even, you know, even like if the restaurant were to be rebuilt from scratch, that same thing, they would have had to put in like a 20 by 62 foot detention basin, you know, is all. So I mean, it's not a big ask, we're making people do, you know. We're trying to get you to hold your water on site a little bit longer so the ditches and everything can try and get that water out, you know, as opposed to pushing it all at the same time. The straw is not that big.
Any ideas that we could work with the road commission to put a culvert in, going north and south across Baseline Road, would that help move more? water? I don't know where.
You're gonna have to reshape the ditches more than anything too. You're gonna have to get the water to flow a certain way.
Right, and I don't know where it goes after that anyway, so, but,
You know, we've conceptually looked at trying to re-slope so that Baseline Road can handle that and push it out here to our sewer lagoon property.
right.
You know, have these be two giant detention basins.
Mhm.
That's probably not gonna be a feasible option, because right now we wanna hold that space as a potential spot if we need to put dredging spoils in there, you know, fill those suckers back up. Perfect spot in my opinion.
I just happen to notice more of the drainage problem on the south side of Scott and Landis.
Yeah.
Property, that to me, even just on a basic rain, not even a huge.
Yeah.
Storm, they just do not have any drainage in that
No,
area. So,
They don't,
yeah, and with that wreck, there, you know, the recreation fuel
Mhm.
tanking right
Yep.
next to where that is too, that makes a little bit nervous. But, you know, how well recreation fuel and water will mix. So it would be nice to get something done in there eventually someday.
let's see. Back in time.
Yeah. So there's so much water we're talking about.
Wow.
Yep.
What is this, the bird and cold?
Birdie and Goldwater
Really?
on the hole number 2,
You can do a
right
canoe
there on
there.
the left. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the picture on the left is looking to the south. So
Wow.
that's looking at that intersection towards Randall.
Yeah.
So that's everything coming in. And, you know, we have an 18-inch culvert under the road there. You could not handle that, not even close. You know, so it's over, it's flowing. You can see it's flooded on the other side there.
Got a regular river going from right to left.
That's our little pond in front of the DPW building, which you can
Wow.
see where the taller weeds there is usually the pond boundary. This is hole 2. It went out pretty dry, that pond.
Oh,
You know,
This is Baseline, so that's in front of, ironically, the drain sale store. It didn't drain, and the back driving out of bounds. You know, so you can't probably see it that well, but you know, one of the issues is, you know.
what's that up there in the picture?
What's that?
The unburned down Pollock Point.
Oh, yeah,
Plant?
Scroll down a minute. You know, right here's your high spot on Baseline. So everything from this point, which is kind of right in front of the kennels, is coming back this way towards
Okay.
cold water. The other side, it falls to the down towards the lagoon property. And speaking of Baseline, that was, the driveway got bounced.
Mhm.
So there's no culvert here.
By the stop sign.
Yeah, there's no culvert here. The culvert goes here, and you can see it right there. It goes there.
hmm.
And the other side of the road was dry.
It would be better off to run water down Baseline
You know,
toward, School Road.
well,
Oh, no, you say natural flow was coming the other way, wasn't it? Coming
you know,
from
School
Baseline.
Road flooded out.
Mhm.
That's, behind the airport.
Right, School Road, yeah.
That was, across from Unified. So that's the aftermath of all that water running through there. And so these are all the areas where we documented flooding and that event. You know, the bank had a bunch of flooding south of it. That's all clay.
So flooding here though too?
Yeah, I mean. Not to the point of the other
Okay,
flooding,
well, I just remember because it was going over the road.
but that's what the water looks like. And the issue is there's no culvert up there by that top orange one.
Hmm.
You know, because there's a good culvert under Coldwater Road at our DPW building. That's a 36 inch. That's a big one, you know? So everything's trying to get to that spot and it's going through that ditch. That ditch isn't a drain of record. So that opens up a whole other set of problems too, where, you know, we don't own exclusive control over that property as it gets out to the river. So you're draining it through other people's property. So that ditch comes like this. So you're taking it all the way out here. Because it's not a drain of record, we can't just go and funnel more water to it from around the area. You know, so that has legal implications as far as what we can do, because, you know, you're increasing the impact on downstream private property at that point in time. So that's a challenge there. And, you know, I don't think any one of us that own along that ditch are too crazy about the county coming in and making it a drain of record based on the cost that would entail. So, knowing that history was why we put the impervious surface cap in, is that, you know, we are hamstrung by the lack of infrastructure in a certain sense. But I digress.
You really think those lots along Coldwater Road, you can get a perk test passed? With all the flooding there and the high water table?
I doubt you could get a septic system if it would have to be above ground after you brought a bunch of.
Yeah, you'd have to
Additional
definitely do an
yeah.
alternative.
Also, lots are so small, any business coming in, there's gonna have the other 2 and not 3 lots. You know, family drive through.
One lot is consistent.
Yeah, and all one lot is pretty much, I have.
And see, and those were things that we discussed when we made these changes too, because, you know, the house is across from out of bounds. North of that, you know, you've got the bank that takes up 4, Bishops have 2. And I think there's like 4 other lots, and those are both doubles.
Right.
The south side, those are all singles. So there's nobody that owns 2 there. So it's like, you gotta come up with something other than a business if you're gonna develop that, because you just do not have the space there. So that's why we tweaked the zoning to put in non-business uses in that area.
Yeah, trying to put a well, septic tank, field, parking lot and a building at some of those.
It's impossible.
Exactly. So anybody who's really gonna come in there and do anything can have to buy multiple lots to be able to do that. And we did restrict what kind of buildings we wanted in there because it butts up against golfers. So, you know, we wanted it a little bit more harmonious. Their backyard being buddy up the home through there too. So it'd be nice to grow some more businesses there. I don't think how it's gonna happen that easily, not in that area.
Yeah.
The village has a septic system, right? Don't you, is it, huh?
We have water system,
It does.
and we don't even own that, though, that's the county.
No.
And you're getting about over the mobile home areas like that, that's water
That's-
only though,
Okay.
there's no septic at all, so.
The village very probably does not own water or sewer infrastructure.
Hence our taxes are so cheap, so.
If you're gonna with that, as alluded to, by law, you have to review the master plan for 5 years. We drafted ours in 18 and formally adopted it in June of 19. Which means 2024 is right around the corner, folks. So on the dais tonight, you have, it looks more intimidating than it really is. It's thick paper, because I use the high glossy paper. So it's like 32 weight, but it's only like 77 pages. 30 of it are survey results. There's a lot of maps, there's a lot of pictures, and it's big font.
Yeah,
Look.
easy to read, actually.
The survey stuff's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, that would be the one thing that I would definitely want to do again, you know, because we've got good benchmarks, you know, over several years, and it's a good time to, you know, stick the measuring stick in the pond and see how deep the water is.
Yeah.
Um,
Surveys bring back good ideas and bad ideas, what people don't like and stuff like that too, but with the ever-changing age of people here in our village, I've been really curious to see how the next big survey that we do comes back and then compare it to the results of it. 10, 15.
Yeah, 'cause you know, demographically, we are getting younger.
Yep.
As a community. And, you know, we looked at, you know, for years, trails were, you know, people want trails, people want trails, people want trails. Well, you know, we tried it. And what we found is the way we would have to implement trails is probably not the way that people envisioned it.
Right.
You know, so if you can't get from one side of the lake to the other, that's a problem. You know, we can't, you know, we don't own the dam, it's owned by the association. You know, and in the post Sanford and Edenville world, I don't know if you really wanna
Yeah.
make a trail on top of the dam either, you know?
Right.
I always thought it would be nice on the bridge on Coldwater Road.
Yeah.
If they have an additional, I don't know, separate or attached crossing way, you know, I could see it being small enough for a golf cart or something like that, walking back and forth or biking, but again, that's the money that costs to do all that stuff.
So in the packet, there's a sheet from MEDC that talks about if you're looking at your master plan, these are the things you should be looking at, you know, asking yourself these questions. So, you know, as you look through that document, keep those in mind, like, you know, what as a community we need to be looking out for. I think, and this has come up at the council level, is something that, I talked to the council about in the budget this year. There's a big chunk of land that we own that it's time to do something with north. So, I don't know if it's in there or not, but you know, the village owns a whole lot of land in Lake Isabella.
Oh, yeah.
And all this stuff's on our website too. North, where is that north there?
Little map, you know,
I thought I had a map in here of that area up in north. I know I did in the old.
oh, okay, before we started trading lots and there and all that stuff. All the lots that were, a lot of those lots there and around the whole lake were originally given to us from the state, not given to us, they bought them for $20 a lot, if I'm not mistaken.
We don't get to keep any of the money if we sell it.
That's exactly right.
So don't get any ideas.
Yeah, don't get an idea that we're gonna become a real estate mogul out there and make all kinds of money, because that's not how it happened. It was nice of us to have all those lots for the people who couldn't park a lot and put something in, is to be able to trade them so that they could build and do something, just not on that particular lot that they would do, but a lot of that's been taken up and taken care of now. Where I agree with Tim, I think we need to start doing some more stuff with that area, so. That's a big blow up. That's 5 acres originally, right?
It's 5 acres. You know, we've sat on it. I've been here 20 years. And he owned it before I got here.
Somebody is putting in something new right to the right of that, I just know it's a bunch of
Well, they're
trees.
clearing the trees. I don't think they've got anything planned yet.
There's a lot more houses up in that north area, but.
You know, for a while, we mowed a walking path through there. We've talked about more recently, is this an area where we could do some type of like community solar field? You know, the transmission line for Wolverine is literally across the street.
Yep.
You know, so it's an ideal location to do a small scale solar project. That in turn would also have a revenue bonus on our end of the equation. Going back to that fact that if we sell it, we don't collect anything off it because we've got to give it back to the county. You know, trying to think of other things.
We talked about cemetery up there,
Yep, cemetery right there.
talked about this building being up there. Somebody got outvoted on it, but
Thankfully. You know, a potential village cemetery in there.
which I still have people asking me about all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's something that should talk.
It's certainly a possibility.
Mhm.
I heard people are dying to get into them.
Yeah.
We have 3 cemeteries in Sherman Township. None of them are full. A couple of them are getting there. But at the Sherman Township level, we are also now starting talking about the cemeteries. Because more and more people. Yep, instead of full burial stuff. We all attended, or a couple of us attended a cemetery conference back in June, I think it was, and I was shocked about the number of things that you can and can't do when it comes to cemetery, so. Legally in Michigan, you can bury somebody wherever you want, you own the land, you can bury somebody in the backyard. Wow. Yes, and they also now are big in the green burial.
Then they make a
and the brown
TV show.
burial.
After you bury them, they make a TV show.
Well, actually,
Dateline
legally,
counts.
legally, you can create a conservatory, I think it is what it's called, it can't be bigger than 1 acre. Because some people were trying to do 40 acres and put in the conservatory stuff and bury their people right here and then use it for whatever else they want. The state said no, but you can legally take up to 1 acre of your own land and bury people on your own land. There's still some stuff that would go with it, but that to me was a big shock. But the green burials and brown burials are the other 2 things that are really becoming popular now because of the cost of burying somebody is more expensive. So they actually have cemetery areas with green burial. You can take people's ashes and scatter them in a designated area. And then they also have, I'm sorry, that's the brown burial. The green burial is spots where you can just do little 1 foot by 1 foot sections all next to each other. Again, marked off area where you can literally just put the urn in there, have a marker on top of it, and be done with it. And it's a lot cheaper to do that kind of stuff.
So is this an actual map of what our cemetery would look like? Should we?
It's a conceptual design of it, yeah.
Okay, so
Pete
how many
Lorenz-
flats are in there?
Fully completed.
Pete Lorenz laid it out for us. There are
I don't remember how many.
100 and.
Can we sell the plots? It's not selling the land, can we sell plots in it? I know regular
yeah.
cemetery, you have to own plots and stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
If the village owns the cemetery, yes, you can do that, and they actually, in that conference we were in, saying that you don't wanna think of it just the plots as being your money makers. It's also the ongoing.
perpetual care
maintenance that goes
fund,
with it, the care that goes with it.
perpetual care fund.
And the other thing too is because you can decide also, and a lot, this is what I was told, a lot of the funeral homes will tell you that you have to have a vault. You do not legally have to have a vault in Michigan. And that's one of your biggest expenses, to put the cement vault in before you put the coffins and stuff in there.
There's all 1,500 spaces in there,
Wow,
1,500,
1,500.
Wow.
okay, good.
good to know.
Yeah.
Where's the pet
I like that one, right on the left.
You know, but that's a legitimate thing too, like. There's enough space there, you could offer pet burial, you know?
Yeah.
Like legitimately.
Yeah.
You know, and this design too had it so that. It would connect at Sierra Morena and Drew. You know, there's pros and cons of that in terms of all of a sudden you've got to cut through, people are cut through the cemetery to get into the neighborhood. I don't know if you want to do that.
It's disrespectful, probably.
You know, so I would probably axe that back drive and put in some more spots there.
Yeah, you just never know what people,
No.
especially young people, they just don't think about it. So is this opening an entire can of worms if you added something like this to the survey?
No, like
Potential,
it's.
we'd have the potential for
I'm
the
still
cemetery and to see what people think.
We have had many.
Well, we already asked it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had many people
I didn't know
say I
that.
would love.
I
to
didn't
have a
get through all of
cemetery
the survey.
here. Yeah.
Page 20
I've just
or-
heard based on the
Two,
last
actually,
18
strange as
years,
this
I mean.
I actually,
Question 28, the village owns roughly 5 acres of land along Drew Road. Several options have been suggested for future use. Community center, community park, walking trail, assisted living, tiny home development, solar field, office park. We didn't put cemetery on there, I guess. Everything other than cemetery.
but we could update
We
that.
could do cemetery. We did cemetery.
Gosh, somewhere.
It's in here somewhere.
Yeah, I think we should move forward with the survey next year as part of this and see what comes of it, and then barring no pandemic, we could actually take some action on what the survey was. I don't think that you got the survey, worked on this, and then we went into a pandemic rather quickly into 2020. There was no time to dissect what the survey even said. It probably hasn't even hardly been looked at.
Well, actually, we've implemented quite a bit of, so like. I don't know, I know we asked cemetery, but like, question.
So you may have been able to implement a lot of that,
I did.
just working with Jessica.
We asked about short-term rentals. Yeah, that's been there. We asked about dredging, we asked about time of transfer, we asked about trash pickup, because we didn't have trash pickup then. We asked about road patrol, we asked about marijuana.
Oh, so we have.
I mean, we've used that
many of
as
those Topics have.
a guiding document in our policy decision in the last 4 or 5 years, so
With the big push
Okay, well, that's-
for green energy, would we get any credit if you put a solar farm there? From the state or from, I mean, yeah, you can get credit for putting it up, and they give you.
we're not under any type of carbon mandate, we would get revenue. That's the,
Would you have to give that back to the county if you put a solar farm there? You sold the lots, you'd have to give it to the county.
but we lease
But
it
if
though.
you generate income, will the county want any part of that?
Yeah, I don't know. Or if we lease it.
Yep.
Enter into some type of agreement with them, because just also then gonna put it back on the tax roll, because it's a generating property at that point, instead of supposed to tax it now. And I would think so, but like a cemetery, you are selling the lot of the land partially, not in big chunks.
Technically, it is sold.
Technically it is
It
sold,
is sold. It's a sale.
but we,
I'm not sure, how would you
Now, when it
maintain all
comes to the
this?
deed though, so
How
I
would
think
you
as long as
cover the
there's no
cost to
deed.
maintain all that?
so, when you buy a plot, there's a plot fee, and then there's the perpetual care fee. So that perpetual care fee goes into the maintenance fund that you would then use to mow and maintain and that kind of stuff. You'd also want to have obviously policies that dictate type of headstones, those type of things, so they have to be spaced accordingly for your mower, or they have to all be flat so you can mow, most, I think, of the cemeteries now require flat headstones so they can just mow the whole way, they're not zipping around,
That's no fun, Tim.
So we've
Well, it's
had
also less likely you're not over.
one of our cemeteries in Sherman Township has had, not maliciously done, but we've had headstones tipped over and broken by the cows that came across in the field, across from the cemetery, because we don't have any fence.
I've heard
To
of
stop, the cows were coming in,
Cows.
eating all the really green grass and tipping over the tombstones and stuff, and it came down, okay, whose cost is that has to, either fix them or at least stand them back up and do all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that comes in that just surprise people don't think about, that costs money. Right now, with all the Sherman Township cemeteries, we do not collect any kind of maintenance or extended care kind of stuff like that, so the township pays for all that money, that adds up.
Yeah.
3 major cemeteries that are out there right now, I would easily say I want to say we're in the $15,000 to $18,000 range mowing just for the cemeteries every year. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm not too far off on that.
Some people do herds of sheep for that.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
yeah, sheets and goat.
They do that, what is it, either the sheep or the goat doesn't go down to the root, they just
Yeah.
eat the top of the grass.
Sheep.
And they
I
don't not
think
step
the
over.
people eat everything all the way to the roots, I think, but the cows don't, so.
Yeah, the cow are really big though.
Cows have no problem tipping stuff over and leaving lots of little.
But I know like, oh, I've seen
Little
like people
deposits
come
here
and
and
they
there.
herd through to mow
Yeah.
areas where then they can get around it.
We just cleaned out one of the cemeteries too, way back in the corner, which is overgrown with autumn aloe, if you know what that is. And it's just horrible with all the needles and stuff on it. Well, we cleared it all out. We actually found a grave back there from 1901
Wow.
that nobody knew was there. So So maintaining and keeping up all that stuff. is a priority for us. Mr. Chairman, is that what-
There's also an old, farmhouse foundation right here too,
Where at?
right up here.
So that would take probably some remediation to. get-
Yeah, I mean, if you know that area, you'd have to go in there with a dozer and pan it all down, there's a lot of this scrub brush and that kind of stuff through there that, you're gonna need to, level the ground.
So is the point to just hold on to the land and create revenue possibly, or just more for just,
I think we're open to anything at this point in time.
did you do community garden?
We've offered people to do community gardens.
Cause I know I have
Really
no
high
land.
fence.
Cul-de-sacs, on
Really
vacant
high
lots.
fences to keep the deer out.
Like,
Yeah.
we're happy to let you garden on our vacant lot. There are cul-de-sacs. We got one on Ledge right now. We had one, Lasers were doing it at Backswing in Par. They're doing it there, but yeah,
I think it would be nice to develop it.
Because we're still a new village, I don't want to release some of that land because we want to do a community center 20 years down the road or whatever. Bigger areas like this are gonna be ideal for doing that. If we sell it all off, now where do we end up putting a community center? If everything got built on or owned by other people, so.
well, not in that document, but in our Parks and Rec master plan, our website, the survey that we did as part of that document, we did ask about a community center.
Mhm.
Because that goes into that, we want trails, but what does trails mean? We want a community center, but what does a community center mean?
Right.
Is it the place where you're gonna have basketball courts like Maury Court? Is it, you need a space for 150 people to meet? Do you need some classrooms on the side? Do you need a kitchen facility? So some of that data is in that survey as well, but predominantly the feedback, if I remember correctly, was more, we want like the 120-ish meetings capacity size, something like that. Which brings in that next question is, what's the appropriateness level for local government to compete against the private sector when you have a business in your community that offers that type of space?
Little flower farm.
It's a little flower barn.
I'm glad we could solve that.
What's that?
I'm glad we could solve that.
I think we add it to the
It's been hanging
survey.
out for years.
We've been quite busy quite often. so.
But we've also-
Things are going.
We've also talked about selling this building and moving. We own
14.
that property at, here's our DPW building and hold the water and
Like 14
we own this
acres.
property here.
Oh, yeah.
Do we
Shannonville property.
build a new office here, sell this building? And design that in a way that could accommodate more of that meeting space need in the community. A lot of those discussions came out of COVID too, where, for those of you who got the fun of meeting in those days, we were meeting in the garage over there with the doors open because it was the only thing we could do. So is there a way to,
Meeting out here in the grass.
well, we did meet in the
Yeah, we
grass,
did.
you're right.
Sure did.
That's right. Would there be a way that we could, orient a meeting hall in a way that would have the ability to be open air in the back end if we need to? So have like the glass garage doors that you could roll up so that you could keep it closed in the winter, but you could have an open air type event, at other times of the year, so. So those are all things that really go into that master plan too, so. Priming the pump on the thought process on what you guys think we ought to be doing.
So we should, at our leisure, read through this and then we should bring our ideas forth. Okay,
It's not a bad read.
No. And this is in the end, this is supposed to be, for lack of better terms, our Bible.
yeah, it's supposed to be
Based on what everybody wants to do. This is what everything is supposed to point back to, trying to match what the master plan up there is telling us what we want to do, and with every 5 or 10 years of updates that way too, we get the opportunity to bring in changes that come in that people want.
You know, if you think, as you read through this, you're gonna think back to, hey, you know, when we did the zoning ordinance, man, here are all those recommended updates that we worked on.
Right.
You know, this, you know, all of these things work together where, you know, we've got a capital improvement plan in here, we have a capital improvement plan in our budget, you know, all of these documents form a cohesive management approach, so.
Well, on that note, should we talk about when the next meeting is?
Certainly.
I see we've got 3 dates still on the calendar. We have met the minimum state guidance for the number of meetings we have. Need to have, I should say. I am at an overnight meeting, October 10th, if anyone cares about that. If there isn't anything on the agenda, I would vote for at least bypassing the October 10th meeting date.
That gets me past cheerleading season, so I'm thumbs up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to be in Holland overnight for work, so
October 10th.
that would help.
Unless something comes up, I don't see a reason to have
No.
October, November, December, obviously it would be easier not to have one just because of the holidays, but I could see a possibility November being if there's something that we need to get together and talk about.
I could work on maybe having the first draft of like a survey to look at maybe.
Oh, November?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
When were you planning on doing surveys on next spring?
I would do it after the first of the year.
Oh, okay. Do it online with online companies?
Yeah, so, I mean, we have a Survey Monkey account, and that's how we've done. Everyone since 2006 has been online. Yeah, you know. And, you know, our approach in the past has been we buy gift cards from like Out of Bounds, the golf course, that kind of stuff. And so, you know, we incentivize, hey, if you complete the survey, you know, you leave us your email address, we'll draw up, you know, winners so that you can get, you know, something out of.
Pizza from Out of Bounds or.
Yep, gas card.
Yep.
You know, and we're upfront with people, like, you know, we do a big survey every 5 years or so. This is your chance. Give us a half hour of your time, you know, let us know what you think. You know, because as you look through the survey and stuff, you're gonna see, you know, this really does shape the decisions that we make at this table in terms of what we prioritize our time and attention on. So if you want us to do something, let us know.
And keep in mind that when people want to do something, everybody loves everything. When you look at the cost, how much is my taxes gonna go up? That determines more of a fine line about, is this a serious issue to deal with or not? Or is it something later on in the future to look at?
We asked that in 2 different ways. So the first question is like, you know, which of these do you want in your community? Then the next question is, which of these would you support with more taxes?
Exactly.
Just
It makes a big difference.
makes a huge
Oh, yeah.
difference.
I'd love a community center with all kinds of stuff in there and do all that. I just don't know when we're ever gonna get the money together to do that. And with the dredging for the next 10 to 12 years. And possibly with the county, you know, with their 3 full updates that they want to do next year too. I don't know that there's gonna be a lot of free money to float around after next November.
But you know, like the page, I don't know, 63 is the matrix of uses in that. You know, we took that data and we tweaked our approval processes in the zoning ordinance to make it easier to do the things people want in the community, and I don't want to say more difficult, but not as easy to do the things people don't want to do, you know? So if you're bringing in a bakery, boy, that's a quick approval. If you're coming in to do, you know, a dry cleaner, maybe not. Self-storage facility, maybe not.
car wash.
Our wash would be fantastic.
We already had a car wash. We had one guy who wanted to car wash years ago.
Yeah.
And it came down to something. So the water issue was the issue. Not a bad idea though.
Well-
On the tattoo parlor. If somebody doesn't know.
So we'll shoot for a November meeting then?
All right, guys, any other, there's no public comment, obviously, since we have no public here. So unless.
There's
someone
nobody
else
on
has
the
Anything else?
Thing either.
Good question. No, nobody there.
Okay.
Okay,